We're not going to be able to comment on the Thomas Massie race, if that's what people were tuning in for. They know that we've been covering it breathlessly, but we're recording this on Monday, so we won't know whether or not Thomas Massie lost.
Well, I'm hoping you, people of the future. Hello, Andrew Heaton here. You already ran out Cassidy, God damn you. I sure hope you haven't run out Massie.
I think he's going to get run out. I mean,
I think he
is bet
too.
on it.
Yeah, if I was going to bet. I donated money to his campaign. I was like, I do not like the whole like massive smear job they're doing on a guy really for being insufficiently loyal to the dear leader. That's it. Like
that race is insane. Spoilers for the PX3 that I'll plug later, but I went through some of the ads of that race. The most expensive primary.
The most expensive
ever.
primary in congressional history.
And by the way, that's buying ads in the Cincinnati media market. So that's a lot of ads because it's not like they were buying them in Manhattan. But that one got insane on all sides. Massie is running as pro-Trump in his district. He is obviously a thorn in Trump's side nationally, but has run ads about how much he's a friend of Donald Trump, and they have a lot more work to do, and that's why he needs to go back to Congress.
That's weird.
Welcome to
because he's
politics.
constantly voting against the Trump agenda. Like, might as well run as who you are. That's weird.
Yeah, if you don't want to be a congressman,
you lose. then you lose. Like that's like the same thing happened with Cassidy. Cassidy's one of 7 Republican senators that had enough spine to vote to remove Trump back after the thing that happened at the Capitol. And he couldn't come out and say, like, look, like I voted to remove Trump from office. He had to say, like, Trump and I have our differences, but we work well together. Look at all the bills that Trump has signed into law that I've written or that I've negotiated. So like, even if we have our personal things, I'm still like a good working ally of Trump. Like they can't just come out and say it because it's a primary and the Republicans love Trump.
This is why politics are stupid and we all hate them because like Thomas Matt, like if you know anything about him, he's not for the Iran war. He's not for the tariffs. Like he's been voting against a lot of stuff that Trump wants to do. I'm pretty sure he despises the man. It's just like, I think a lot of us are just hungry for someone to be authentic. And we would hope Massie would be that. But if he's running ads being like, I'm Trump's bestie, it's like, God, you're so full of shit. Because you're not.
The specific ad is that the time for him to address the elephant in the room, and he has a CGI elephant behind him with tousled blonde hair and a MAGA hat on. And he's like, the truth is that me and Donald Trump agree on a lot more than we disagree on. And then he lists all the things that they agree on. And that's why we have a lot more work to do. Vote for me, Thomas Massie.
I do want to give Massie some credit, though, Jen. Like, if I had to pick between Thomas Massie saying things on the campaign trail that are absolutely 100% necessary to get elected within the Republican Party versus sticking by his gumption when he votes, I'd prefer the votes. And I think Massie deserves incredible credit for standing up to the president multiple times and voting against him and having more fortitude than the rest of Congress.
I get that. And like I respect Thomas Massie. I like a lot of stuff that he's done, but let's not pretend that he didn't spend a significant portion of the last year trying to tell us that Donald Trump is a pedophile and in the Epstein files. Like, let's just acknowledge the bullshittery of like Donald Trump and we do so many things together. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Like,
and we're not even at the beginning of how insane the race gets.
Politics is bullshit.
We haven't even gotten to the beginning of how insane it got. So then he attacks one of the funders of his opponent, Ed Gallerine, as a funder of the gay woke mob, and how the gay woke mob is going to take over Kentucky's 4th district if Ed Gallerine is elected over Thomas Massie. This, I think that was one of the outside groups, as was this one against Thomas Massie, which used AI to demonstrate that Thomas Massie, Ilhan Omar, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are in a throuple as they are holding hands and shown walking up to a to a hotel check-in desk, and then the last image is the hotel door closing with a "Do Not Disturb" sign on it to show how Thomas Massie is so close to the radical left. He's in a
he so
throuple
frequently
with AOC.
votes with and champions the perspectives of AOC. I could totally see how that happened.
I will say you might be confused though if you're looking at who's rooting for him online. Like all the people that are rooting for him online tend to be more liberal. And then the MAGA people obviously want him to be flogged publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy because he actually follows through with a lot of the things the MAGA people said they were voting for. Like he's against the new wars. He's against new taxes, which is what tariffs are. Like he's stuck to a lot of the principles that MAGA said they were for, but because he didn't follow Dear Leader, that's why he's getting challenged like this. And the Israel money. I mean, that's a big part of it too. It's just disgusting. I hope he wins, but I fear that it is now the party of Trump. I hope that 10 years from now they get severely punished for doing that, but right now it does seem like
we're in a moment of insufficient purity means that you are ejected, right? Like that's what Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin found out. That's what John Fetterman's going to find out.
Bill Kristol just became a Democrat. You see that?
For real?
Yeah.
Good.
He registered as a Democrat earlier this week.
Oh my God.
That's a moment. Like that is like Bill Kristol becoming, I mean, it's a natural flow of a lot of voters. A lot of people that were like read Bill Kristol and nod their head solemnly, like are Democrats now. So it makes sense that he is too.
No, there's a realignment going on. And the Republican Party is the party of Trump, and it really has gotten heavier that way. Like Cassidy's out. He come third place in a primary.
He's out of the
He
runoff,
couldn't even make the top two.
No.
Yeah. And then this is one of the reasons that, like, in addition to the fact that I probably wouldn't like, is it Graham Plattner that's the guy running in Maine?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
In addition to the fact that I probably just wouldn't agree with him anyway on economics, like I don't want him to knock out one of the three remaining Republicans that was willing to remove Trump. I think it's very good for the Republican Party to have a few people in it. And I think Susan Collins might get knocked out on that end. And then we'll be down one more person.
There's a rumor that her and J.D. Vance are actually pretty good friends, or they get along.
I believe it.
And he was up in Maine and she did not appear there. But I think it was very strategic because J.D. Vance's comments on stage were, Susan, she's a really great person personally. I just wish she would be more partisan. Boy, do I wish she would be more partisan, but she's not. Oh well. And it's like, oh yeah, they're in cahoots. That's like the best thing he could say to that audience is J.D. Vance coming out and being frustrated that Susan Collins specifically not partisan enough.
Mm.
It's so disturbing. Like what I do for a living. I pay attention to what Congress actually does. And so to hear this, and it's not just you guys, but this idea that like Cassidy is one of these people that bucked Trump. Bullshit. He's voted with him the entire Congress. He also voted to confirm R.F. Kennedy Jr. despite having serious concerns about everything about the man. So he's done a lot of things to appease Trump. And then Susan Collins, in the first Trump administration, it was Collins, Murkowski, like those two were voting against a lot of the crazy stuff. This Congress, it's Lisa Murkowski. She's out there on her own. Rand Paul with like war and peace type stuff. But it's no longer Murkowski and Collins. Collins is pretty much as Trumpy as it gets. I can only think of a couple of votes on things that weren't that important where she voted the other way.
But she did vote to remove him from office, because I got to say, that is a huge, giant fucking vote that costs a lot of political capital. So I will give a ton of credit to any Republican that voted to remove Trump. Like, there's a reason that a bunch of them retired or are getting flushed out now. Like, that is a risky thing to do, and I want to give her due credit on that.
I'm not giving these people credit if they knew a few years ago that this guy was that big of a danger to our country, and then they cooperate with him on everything he's doing once he takes power. Credit gone. Like, sorry. Like, I would like to see one Republican go all in and be like, this man is unacceptable. They think it behind closed doors, but they're not saying it outright. So they're playing this game where they're like, Massie in particular, I'm going to do all these things that are anti-Trump, but like, I'm still Trump's friend. It's like, can someone cut the bullshit?
They did, and they all got flushed out. Jeff Flake said that. He got flushed out. Bob
That was
Corker
years
said that
ago.
he got
We're
flushed out.
talking
Yeah,
2026.
no, the people that stayed were willing to stay in the room, not completely disown Trump, but on pivotal votes actually put their money where their mouth is. Like they're exactly what I want them to do in that context. If they're going to stick around on the theory that it's better for me to stay here and be an adult in the room, and then when they have the opportunity to vote on something like removing Trump, they do it. They're the people that I want to stay in the room. It's the people that know better that didn't vote to remove him or didn't vote to impeach that I have a problem
But again, this is, I mean, as much as I know we need to make everything about Donald Trump, like this is about our modern political meta. Like you do need to be pure or else you will be punished. And we've seen that on the Democratic side as well. We're about to see it again with John Fetterman when he comes up. He's either going to have to run as an independent because he's going to get destroyed on the Democratic side. Like, and he has like only voted on 2 or 3 things. If you look at just the tonnage of who he votes with the Democrats an overwhelming majority of the time in the same way that Collins does. It's the key votes that stick in people's brains that they need to be eliminated.
It's all stupid.
Agreed. This
Anyway,
is why
you got to
the
see
political
this
process to control much of life.
You got to see this ad though, where they're a throuple. It's the AI slop terms are here, baby. It is just nothing but AI slop from here until infinity, man. From sea to shining sea, just seed dance. From seed dance to shining sea. That's what we're looking at on in these ads because they're so damn cheap.
I mean, Justin, this is where our mental illnesses clash because like you are clearly entertained by this. Like I can see it on your face. Your smile is huge. Where I just feel seething anger at how serious the job is that they are being hired to do with this stupid fucking process that doesn't match what I see when they're actually at work. So it's like, I just think that disconnect is doing us such a huge disservice. So it's like the throuple video, I find it so unacceptable that in this moment, I just can't even find it funny because it's just dumb. And it doesn't help you pick the best representation for your district.
I think that you have done a great job in branding this podcast as the clash of 3 distinct mental illnesses.
Yeah.
You just shake our 3 mental illnesses and throw them into a dogfighting pit. And that's what you guys get weekly.
Yeah, I'd say it's accurate.
From Austin, Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young, also from Austin, Texas.
I'm Jennifer Briney.
And from Washington, D.C.,
I'm Andrew Heaton.
And we're not wrong on this edition of the program. We'll be talking about the AI hate wave. It's getting booed at commencements. It's got rock bottom approval ratings. What the hey? We'll go over that. Plus, AOC and Ro Khanna behind the scenes battling for the heir to the Bernie Sanders machine. We will discuss whom should be the rightful suitor to that. I know we normally get into this first thing, but I just got to pick up on this. Heaton, are you telling me right now it's hotter in DC than it is in Austin?
Oh, here we go.
It might be. Hold on. Let's see what it is.
Yeah, let's see real quick. What is it right now for you?
It's 90 at this moment of recording. It's 95.
89 here in Austin.
Yeah, we're not at 95 today.
Yeah. Although I should say it's been hot like above 80 as of yesterday. The problem with Austin's not the severity, it's the length. It's having to use your air conditioning in December.
I'll tell you, it's been
fine.
Yeah.
Glad to hear
playing
that.
volleyball in it. It's
I'm
fine.
not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. Doesn't matter. Wasted. All right, let's talk about AI.
All right.
Axios has argued that a broad AI backlash is becoming a real political and business problem. Public opinion is termed sharply negative across age groups and parties, with most Americans saying AI is advancing too quickly and young people are especially pessimistic. They point out that the viral boos for pro-AI commencement speeches, including former Google CEO Eric Schmidt over the weekend, is a cultural signal that things have turned black with the youth. It says tech executives often seem oblivious to this hostility, even as opposition begins to slow data center expansion. Of course, this matters because those data centers provide the compute AI companies need. The piece concludes that AI might be inevitable in some form, but public resistance could shape how far it spreads. Mr. Andrew Heaton, why is AI so unpopular?
I think it's two things. The first one, which is a general tendency that is particularly pointed right now in society, is that pessimism is both more fun to roll in and you just sound smarter if you're a pessimist. Like if you're an optimist, and I'm a congenital optimist, you sound like you're selling life insurance or something like that. So I think pessimism itself just does better in general. But beyond that, as somebody that is optimistic about AI, I want to give due credit to kind of the situation that we find ourselves in. The vast majority of Americans, and I'm in this category myself, don't really have any expert level knowledge of this very high impact field. And so we are being told very apocalyptic or utopian outcomes for AI. That is the constant stream of information that we are given. This is going to cure cancer, or it's going to cause a Great Depression and or eliminate mankind. So if we don't really know a lot about the technology and we're presented with this extremely high level of impact that's going on, I'm not surprised that people would be skittish about it. Because it's just, hey, here's this massive thing. There's no way for you to figure out if it's good or bad or not. Just pick a team and then go with it. Like, I get why people are worried about that. So I think that's part of it. What I find interesting about this is not so much that AI is encountering this wave of resentment. That doesn't surprise me. What I find more interesting is when you kind of break it down on a granular level. When you look at polling for people in terms of how they think AI will impact them, they're more optimistic about it. So when you poll people, will AI be generally favorable or bad for your life? People say, oh, it'll be good for my life. But it's kind of on the macro level that people are worried about it. I think you see this psychologically in a number of studies in other fields where people routinely underestimate how happy their neighbors are. So in surveys, people will say, or the surveys will ask, how happy are you? I'm very happy. How happy do you think the country is? Extremely depressed. But you'll find that there's a ton of people that all think they are happy and the country is depressed. You also see this with crime statistics where people tend to think that their neighborhood is very safe, but the country's very unsafe, but all the neighborhoods tend to think that. So I think that's part of it. The other thing that I find really interesting is that this is most pronounced in the Anglosphere. When you look at polling internationally, Ireland, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom are the most nervous about AI. Europe is not. Europe is somewhat nervous, but it's moderately nervous compared to us. And Asia is the most optimistic about it. So there are these really strong geographic correlations with it that I find very interesting. And we can get into why that might be, but I find that stuff interesting. And that's kind of, I'm more attracted to narrowing down the granular stuff. But suffice to say, I think people veer towards pessimism in general. And in this instance, it's very difficult for the average consumer, yours truly included as well, to make an informed decision on something that's a fairly speculative, high-tech focused thing.
I want to get back to that specific delineation of AI startling Whitey. Jen, why do you think it's so unpopular?
I mean, I definitely don't think it's because we're all just a bunch of like negative Nellies that don't understand it.
White negative Nellies.
Yeah. I mean, just negative Nellies in general. I don't care about the race. I think we're actually having a lot of interactions with it and it's not going great. I mean, I think you guys both know and like drink, I'm saying murder robots because those are scary and we're afraid of them. So there's that. There's also, like you mentioned, the data centers, like this whole situation in Utah where the Shark Tank douche, Kevin O'Leary, is basically like pushing through this enormous, I think it's $100 billion data center. It's supposed to take up twice as much power as the state, like the whole state generally uses. He's a Canadian. He's not even American. And the way that they want to power it is he's like, we're going to build our own power plants with fossil fuels, with natural gas and solar power. And it's like for people that are concerned about the environment, burning fossil fuels to like keep our houses warm while we're transitioning is one thing. Burning fossil fuels for Kevin O'Leary's data center is a little different. Also worried about the water usage because in Salt Lake City, the lake is going dry because they have droughts there and they get this dust that kicks up and it's disgusting there. And they're worried justifiably that this data center is going to gobble up a finite resource that are not finite, it can be replenished, but in a place that's becoming drier and drier, that's a real concern. And that's a concern for people that live there that isn't, metaphorical. I can talk about the AI that we're witnessing here on our roads. We have Waymos all over here in Austin, Texas. And I know the studies. I know that these driverless cars are significantly safer than humans. But I also know that they're using Austin, Texas, and I think 10 other cities as their testing grounds. There is no place where you can go and watch them being tested and the government involved in that and making sure that they're safe before they get onto our roads. They're testing them on our roads. And so when you hear about a Waymo, which just happened, that mistook it was basically a flash flood for a puddle and got swept away in it, you get concerned. When you see that there's a shooting over here on 6th Street, and there's a Waymo that got in the way of the first responders. We have concerns. These concerns are very real and they're happening in our faces. There's also the AI robots that have taken over customer service. Do you love when you want to talk to a human being and instead you get an endless loop of robots who are not able to help you, because that's happening more and more and it's pissing a lot of us off. There's also people that are concerned about their jobs. I have a brother, he's not doing it anymore, but he was a trucker for years and years. And we're pretty sure that trucking 10 years from now is not going to exist. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's the number one most popular job for people that haven't graduated high school. And so what the fuck are they going to do? That's a very real concern.
Driving's the most common job in America, regardless of education level. It's a very common job.
Yeah. And so you have these AI robots untested coming out onto our streets. Some of us are concerned about that for a lot of reasons, but a lot of people are concerned that they're going to go broke and there's not going to be any kind of program to give them another job. I think that that's a very, very real concern, especially because when you look at who's benefiting from AI, it's these people that have invested in it. So it's another way that money is being saved for labor by having the labor costs go away. You don't have to pay out the paychecks. And the benefits of that are the investors in, Anthropic and ChatGPT. And it's another way that money is getting funneled from the working class to the investor class. And I think that's a very real concern, especially when our tax money is also being used to prop up this tech. So we're paying for it in a bunch of different ways as regular people. I'm also concerned about just the economy in general. I know if you look at the S&P returns, so if you are in the investor class, pretty sure it's close to 40% right now in the last couple of years has been AI related. If that goes to shit, that could immediately lead to a pretty nasty recession here in the United States, which is why we keep dumping money into this tech. And I just think in general, when you look at the people in charge of this, when you look at the private tech overlords that are in charge of these companies, and the fact that there's really no regulation of this going on, just like the fact that Waymos are allowed to use us as the testing ground, I feel like they're using the whole damn world as the testing ground for their tech. And we're allowing this in the United States. And I don't trust, because I see it every day, that our Congress is doing anything about it, because they're not. And so it just feels like a Wild West. And their marketing campaign, as Andrew said, is very either utopia or doom and gloom. And these are enormous changes that we're being told are coming, whether we like it or not, that we never asked for. So I think that it's not just pessimism. I think there are real concerns that people have here, and I share them. So, and I don't think I'm some kind of Luddite who's just like, oh, I don't like it because it's new. I have real concerns, and it's.
I think a lot of those concerns are valid. I don't think all of them are. I think most of them are. Like electricity, that's straight up. I agree. Right now, 5 to 7% of the electricity consumed in the country is going to data centers, and that's going to increase dramatically. Now, it's not static. We can create more energy. I think this is probably why we're going to have more nuclear moving forward, which I am fine with. But that is a concern, and I think that that's a valid concern. I'm not going to criticize that one. The water one I don't think is legitimate. Almonds take up 4 to 5 times as much water consumption in the United States every year than data centers do, and nobody's really throwing a fit about almonds. Golf courses take more water than data centers do. That one I think is a bit spurious.
People do protest both of those things, but
if they're consistent, I appreciate that. But data centers demonstrably take less water than golf courses do, and they take way less than almonds do. So I'm just not that worried about that. with the job displacement.
Can I just pause on that for a second? Because just because something else takes more water, we're still talking about like if you have 1 cup of water and you're still diverting that 1 cup, that's all you have, and you're diverting it to something else. Like even though it takes less water than the almonds, it's still taking water out of the available supply. And the people that are there drinking the water and need it for other things, that's the concern.
That's true, but it's 0.2% of annual water consumption in the United States. It's very fractionally low.
Well, now we haven't built them yet.
Right. I guess if we're not worried about almonds and golf courses,
technology on it
water.
is the technology on it. I think has been to the point of hilarious parody, been overstated exactly how much water these data centers take. Like there was one book that had has been ridiculed now amongst the people who pay attention to this kind of stuff, figure in there that it took this ridiculous amount of water. It does not. The systems are almost entirely closed loops where you are using the same recycled water over and over and over and over again.
There's also some unfair accounting that goes into that too, where the more, even using the numbers that I just cited, a lot of the time those numbers are inflated already because the water consumptions, including hydroelectric dams, and they're counting the water going through the hydroelectric dam as water that the data center is using. So electricity, yes. Water, I think the water thing undermines the overall position for people that are worried about this on environmental grounds. I think the electricity one's germane. With the trucking one, when we get into employment, there is a high probability that a lot of jobs will be displaced. And I don't think any of us really know how it's going to work. I don't think that they're going to get rid of trucking just because I don't think that the liability issue is going to make that likely. I suspect that trucking companies are going to have AI installed as a kind of safety mechanism to make sure that truckers, are awake, sober, that kind of thing. I doubt for legal liability purposes that job's going to go away anytime soon, although that is happening with Uber. And that will probably continue to happen. So it's going to displace some jobs. With the jobs thing, though, I think that is really more a question of speed than it is phenomenon. So if a bunch of jobs all get automated within a year to where we got mass unemployment, and I have several friends that are worried about that, that think that within the next year and a half we'll have like 20% unemployment. Were that to happen, it would be a really big deal. Like we would be getting into like destabilizing territory if that happens. Again, I don't really think so. I suspect that what's going to happen is that we're going to have a lot of jobs that just reduce the amount of tedium that are inside of them. We have some jobs that narrow down where there's somebody that's more productive. We need fewer of that particular person. But then there'll be other jobs that are started because there'll be more money and saved labor that goes into something else. So I'm less worried about that. So I don't know. I think the jobs thing is a legitimate thing to be worried about. I don't know that anybody can call it. And I think the electricity thing is a legitimate thing to be worried about. And then on the extreme stuff too, like, I don't know. I'm not being an expert on this. I hear both apocalyptic and utopian elements to it. But I'm more on the optimistic side.
I guess with the water thing, the problem with even this conversation is that I can't go to some neutral source like our government and say, well, this is what they said. This is the nonpartisan study that our government is doing because they are in charge of regulating all of this. So it's like, Justin, I love you. I do. But I also know that you're very into the AI stuff and you always have the rosy picture for AI. So when you tell me like, oh, it's fine with the water, like, I want to believe you.
Just
but
wait.
I also
don't worry. I'm going to piss you off in like 5 minutes. So go ahead.
No, but like I don't want to make this personal. But the thing is, it's like when you're hearing from the people that are AI maximalists that like, don't worry about this stuff. And you don't have a government that's on top of it and regulating it in a way where you can be like, okay, well, this is what the Department of Commerce says. This is what the Department of, the Environmental Protection says. Like, we just don't have those trustworthy sources to play referee right now. And I think a lot of these concerns would go down if we had the government structuring this instead of it feeling like the tech companies are doing everything they want to do and there's no guardrails, because that's what it feels like to me.
So the thing that I genuinely have a hard time squaring a circle around is that data centers have been a part of our lives, our daily lives, increasingly so, at a tremendous growth rate for the past 20 years. We've continually built data centers the more we've needed cloud computing and reliable ways that we can ping our information that undergirds our daily lives, up to and including recording this podcast. What happened with LLMs, and this is where I do want to draw a line here, just so we can understand where at least the data center build out. The data center build out is about the LLMs that have come out over the last 5 years. And specifically, we are talking about companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Facebook, XAI, that kind of stuff. Those data centers need a much higher level of what is called compute. The chips that go into that require more electricity. And so they need to build new data centers to continue to move the threshold for what people, the demand that people have for this technology continues to go up at an almost exponential rate. It is a hockey stick and has been for the last 3 years. The demand is unlike anything we have ever seen in the history of technology. That's why the data center build out is gigantic. Now, what I find curious is that a build out for which has had maybe sporadic local pushback or sporadic national attention, now all of a sudden is ground zero for how we need to fight AI. And I've got a few theories on it. Number one is that we're confusing a lot of this technology into one bucket, into just big tech. The idea that big tech has done us wrong. We used to be happy about big tech. We all of a sudden, you had these big companies like Google that was saying, don't be evil. Or you have Mark Zuckerberg, these fresh-faced young kids out of college that then build these companies. And it turns out these companies are bad. These companies are bad for us. They do bad things to us. They bring out our worst instincts. And then you have things like Waymos and call centers and long-haul trucking, all of which are technology, all of which do rely upon machine learning, but those the revolutions in those fields were continuing before we got to the LLM revolution, and they do not rely on those data centers. But yet they all kind of go into one big bucket of feels bad man. And it is because of that that I believe the new companies that have come up into prominence over the last several years, including OpenAI and Anthropic, one of them more than the other, has decided that the way that they need to message their technology is to not be like Google, not be like Facebook, not say, oh, this is going to be amazing, how cool, this is a risk-free thing that's going to happen. Instead, they've wanted to lead with the idea that this is very powerful technology and there might be downsides, and we are doing our best to do it, while also hating each other and saying that the other guy isn't doing it the right way, and so therefore raising the anxiety level. I don't know how to untangle those wires for people that haven't really been following it. I don't know what to do with the idea that, well, I don't like Facebook and I think my life is worse because of it, and so therefore I don't trust a data center, like a data center build out on these things, or that Waymo might affect, driving jobs. And so therefore I don't like OpenAI or something like that, because these are separate tracks to me. And I want to talk about it in good faith and I don't want to be glib. But I really don't know what to do with it.
Well, I mean, when you have a bunch of kids booing the Google guy because of AI in general, I think you don't need to untangle the waters. You need to, or the wires, you need to acknowledge the knot, that they are connected in people's minds. It's the autonomous, it's like the robots taking over. Like the knot is there. You're not going to untangle it. And I think it's all together. When it comes to the data centers in particular, I think that also goes back to the lack of the feeling like we are consenting to this. So I'll go back to the Kevin O'Leary example. One of the things that I watched and was pretty disturbed by is that a few thousand people showed up to this like local meeting where they were going to, the commissioners who were going to approve the project or not. There was a lot of people that showed up and they were loud and they were very much against the project. The commissioners ended up going behind closed doors to take the vote, and the people that showed up for that had to watch it on a screen, and they approved it despite all of the people that were in the local community saying, we don't believe that there's been enough environmental studies done. What about the traffic? What about all the extra people? What about the fact that we like having this open land and you're telling us you're just taking it away for this, foreign dudes project that's going to double you have all of the power in the state of Utah and you're being told this one building is going to take double that. Like, I think the locals have justifiable concerns, which were not
Eventually
addressed.
take double.
Understood. But if this is what you're being told is happening in your community and your commissioners don't listen to you, they approve it, even though you're there in mass in person, I think that people have a right to say this is happening without any actual regulatory scrutiny in a way that I think could hurt my actual community. I don't really think it has that much to do with hating the tech. I don't think it's a feels bad thing. I think there are changes being made that we're being told are going to be global and local that seem to be happening without our consent. And when you watch something like that in that community meeting, it's really hard to deny that the people who showed up there and had concerns, it's really hard to deny that they were ignored in that process. And the more you see that, the bigger the bigger the crowds are going to be being like, I want a stop put to this before I can consent.
This reminds me so much of fracking. This is like the exact same thing. I'm having a deja vu with fracking, which fracking is awesome.
Oh,
and everybody who was protesting it was on the wrong side of that. Big
okay,
time.
Well, the people with the poisoned air and water would disagree, but that's the thing. Like cancers,
again,
you can't
another
prove
thing
goes
that
back to
wasn't really
fracking.
true. Another thing that wasn't really true.
We're just gonna have to play the nuh-uh, you're wrong game. But fracking definitely was an environmental problem.
I'd prefer fracking over coal plants. That being said, though, with
I
Utah,
prefer solar over fracking. There's always a better solution.
Me too. No, me too. But there's always trade-offs. There's always the best of the situation we have versus the perfect, right? Solar would be great. It'd be great if all of our energy is renewable and there's zero externalities associated with it. But we weren't going to go from 0 to 100 in 1998. There was going to be some kind of transition that was required to do that. But I want to put a pin on that. I'm not familiar with the Utah one. If it is true that they would be consuming twice as much power as the entire state of Utah, that's a very, very good issue to bring up. I think that you could still build the thing, but talk about how the power is going to be used. The rest of the things, though, they're not going to have traffic because they don't actually have very many people associated with them. They will have traffic to build
it, which is what people are complaining about.
To build it and 2,000 employees even after it's built. That's not negligible in a small town.
But we're just talking about tech NIMBYism of I don't like this particular business. We should be able to veto it from being in our town.
I think that is really dismissive, and you guys have both done it now, where it's just they're pessimistic. They're doing it because they feels bad. It's not feels.
How is this not NIMBYism? This is literally not in my backyard. I don't want that in my backyard. I'm correctly identifying this, am I not?
Yeah, but the data centers, they're going into a lot of our backyards to power a tech that we're uncomfortable with. So it's not just about the backyard, but I do think your backyard matters and you should have a say what happens in it.
I think that if there are externalities associated with it, that's legitimate. But if somebody buys land, they're going to do their own thing, and you just don't like it, no. Again, the power thing, I think that's legitimate. If it's producing smog, that's legitimate. But if it's just we don't like them, we don't want them in our state, no, that's NIMBYism. I'm not for that.
Yeah, but I think that the power thing is an issue. I think the fact that they want to build a nuclear power plant to power this building in someone's neighborhood, or not a nuclear, a gas plant to power this in someone's neighborhood, I think they should have a say in that. I think the fact that the neighborhood doesn't believe that environmental studies were done properly, I believe that because this has been a really new project and they're already approving it. When did they do these studies? I think those are legitimate concerns. And if that's in your backyard and you're concerned about the environment,
I think if you're going to be producing externalities, the community should have a say in that. I don't disagree.
And they didn't have a say in that. So I think that's the bigger problem with the data centers. I think that if it's someone like me who's not just feels bad, I think my concern would be that there's not a process where I feel like my voice, my concerns would be heard. Because not all those people were there to say, don't do the data center. They were saying, this is what we want before we want this approved. And they just approved it anyway.
I don't think input's the same thing as veto power. Being able to to voice your concerns to your elected government is different than saying we have the ability to stop this whenever we want. Like they were able to talk to him. Like it's not as if they had no input. It's that the people that they elected decided to go a different direction.
Yeah, because and in the United States, we're seeing time after time that corporations are getting what they want and the people are not being heard. It's a pattern. And so when you look at AI, when you look at all the things together, again, we're looking at the knot. I feel like we're looking at one wire in the knot. Let's go back to looking at the entire knot. There's a lot of different ways that people are uncomfortable. And so they're just looking at AI in general when it's data centers, murder robots, shitty customer service, the Waymos that seem to be testing on our own roads, the jobs, the economic dependence, like all of those things together. You just look at AI in there, like the robots, and you're just like, I never said yes to this. And it's changing my whole society. And I think that's where the boos come from, especially when you got the Google guy telling the next generation of kids that you should be a slave to this technology that I'm forcing upon you. Boo.
Well, for the record, he doesn't work at Google anymore. He hasn't worked at Google for a long time. And I stand in solidarity with all those kids. Eric Schmidt sucks. And I would boo him if I saw him. I would boo him if I saw him at a Starbucks. So if you booed him at your commencement, then that's fine. I believe the children are our futures. Let me say I do believe that this is a clash between the top of our society and the bottom of our society. And I stand with the bottom. I stand with the bottom billion that now have access to medical advice and legal advice in a way that they would have never had before. And there's a reason why you see tremendous adoption throughout the global south of this technology. I stand in favor of the greatest union build out that America has seen since the 1950s. That's what every mechanical union in America says is coming now, because there are so many different construction projects that are going to get people licensed and the experience and apprenticed for things like electrical wiring and stonemasonry and building. I stand with the unions. I don't stand with the union buster NIMBYs who only want their own precious idea of word cell jobs being protected so much that they are stopping this technology from bringing good blue collar work to a country that needs it.
See, and this is why the people that are uncomfortable with it just hear that and feel like you're not hearing us. Like, this is why, like, you're going with the people that are really doomy and then being like, but look at the utopia. And it's like, until the utopia,
I'm saying that you are union busters.
Concerns.
I'm saying that you are union busters. Anybody who doesn't want a data center is a union buster.
I know. You're trolling. I can feel it. But I'm telling you that you're not helping the AI case as much as I think you are, because by dismissing all of these concerns.
I mean, there's nothing I can say anyway. I mean, look, I'm already marked for mockery, because I come from that world and I like the technology. The questions that I really have are kind of like, I think that there is a general malaise. There's a general angst that is apparent now. And I do think that it is all about the entire knot. I do find it interesting that we have moved to a place where now we are pushing back against, like the number one people, whenever you see those fights at the data center, local board meetings, take note of who's speaking in favor of the data center, because it's all the guys with pop bellies with white mustaches in colored T-shirts. It's all the local unions. Those are the ones who are speaking up in favor of those data centers. The people that
they want to build it and they want to get paid. Everyone's voting for their own paycheck here.
Yeah. And also this is, I mean, when it comes to union stuff, a big boom of jobs does have generational effects, because you do need gigs to have apprentices, and you need apprentices to make more electricians and people that have the kind of ability to do that. And the union protections on those means that they're going to be good jobs for a very long time. They're going to be protected jobs for a very long time.
But a job needs to serve a purpose. A job is just like hiring someone to do a thing with a goal in mind. If the goal is to change our society in a way that we don't want, if the goal is like, oh, I created a job creating murder robots, it's like, fuck that job. It shouldn't exist. So I think like the jobs case, whether it's jobs going away or jobs coming, I think that's less. For me, it's the tech itself that I'm concerned about. And when I hear like, oh, the construction jobs will be good. Oh, but the trucking jobs will go away. It's just like, do we want this technology to be running everything in our society? That is the question that has not been answered by the American people and is not being asked by our representatives.
Well, there we go. I'm glad we got there.
I'm really glad we didn't have this conversation when steam power was invented. I think all of the same problems with it would persist. There's a new technology, it has externalities, it takes up water, it's going to displace jobs, it's altering society. Nobody asked permission to invent steam engines. I'm glad we did it. If we decided to have veto power for every neighborhood and had a come up with every single impact and externality in advance, like it would have taken us 800 years longer to do, and there'd be more people dead and more people suffering. Like these are, I'm on the optimistic side of this, and I think we could apply the same conversation to any other breakthrough technology throughout history. That said, I do have two questions for you both. I am curious, just in general, why you think that Europe and Asia are more optimistic than we are. What accounts for that in the Anglosphere? I don't really know. I'm genuinely curious. And I'm also curious, how much would either of you need to be paid to not use AI for a month?
Oh, I can easily not use AI for a month. And I think Europe is not that fired up about this because it's not their country that is going full speed ahead, taking their fields, turning them into data centers, allowing Waymos to be tested on their roads. Like here in Austin, they're going to start testing the freight trucks that don't have drivers. Like they're just letting anything happen on these roads in a way that just does not happen in the European Union. You can't just do whatever the fuck you want in the European Union. So I don't think that they have the concerns that we have because they do have a regulatory state that's currently functional. Asian countries I've never been. I can't explain what's going on there. But with Europe, they know that their government has some protections that's going to stop these technologies from basically, I mean, if you look at some of these technologies, we'll find out about the problems when they kill some people. Like that's not how they operate in Europe. So that would explain it to me.
Jen, if I give you $100 for a month, will you promise not to use ChatGPT?
I mean, I'm going to use it for work. If $100, probably not because I need it for work.
So it's okay. So it is
for
worth
one
more than
episode.
$100.
Give me.
No, it's not me trying to trick you into not using ChatGPT. I'm trying to find out the revealed preference for everybody of how much would you need to be paid to not use it. And that's a way to determine how useful it is to you monetarily.
I don't know. It's not that big of a deal for me.
Okay. Justin?
So 250?
Yeah, 250
for a month?
No, here's the thing. If I give you guys a number, then you're going to make it a bet, and I'm not doing this, you guys. No,
no one's going to make it a bet. No one's going to make it a bet. This is just
I'm trying to do 3 episodes in 1 month. I can't have this nonsense.
Okay, so it sounds like it is very useful, and it would be a very high threshold were we to meet that. That's fine. Justin, how about you?
You can't afford it.
Yeah, but he also is the producer of the OpenAI podcast. Like, we are not normal people. So I don't know.
Well,
I don't even know the relevance
like,
of this. I'm far more dependent on my air and water being clean and my cars not crashing into me and getting swept away in floods. Like I don't know. I don't think it's fair to be like ChatGPT and then all the rest of the AI, like you can't escape it. Like I can't make the Waymos go away. I can't make the fact that when I call my bank, I want to talk to a person and I can't because I'm running into this AI. Like I can't choose at this point whether or not to use it. So I can choose whether or not I use ChatGPT, but in so many of these other instances, like the threats to our entire economy by having the stock market be so reliant on AI, like I can't change that. There's so much of it that's outside of my control that the bet doesn't even work because I can't avoid it.
Well, I think, I mean, again, that specific mental exercise is just to determine how useful it is to individual people. But your point is taken that overall it is not something that we have the ability to veto, where we can have a plebiscite and say we're just not going to have data centers anymore or something like that. I'm fine with that. I think externalities are something that we should absolutely be factoring in. But in terms of societal change, things like that, I want to give minimal veto control to people, and I don't particularly relish having like Ed Gallerin or what's his name? Gallerin? Ed Gallerin.
Gallerin.
In charge of this kind of stuff. Like all the people we were talking about at the beginning of the thing. I don't want them being the ones in charge of it.
Well, this is where the political process becomes a problem because we have such a stupid way of electing our people that I also don't trust them. But I think if we had a better way of electing people so that we could get smart people into lawmaking positions and regulatory positions that we did trust, this could be a much smoother transition. But because we have a system that basically encourages ads about bullshit threples in order to hire lawmakers, it's such a nonsense way that we are electing these people. So yeah, we get a bunch of idiots in charge that we don't trust. I think that's just it's a way that we've ended up here, is having such a broken political process and having such a gerrymandered system that you can get away with that shit.
If we get to the point where politics is so benign, smart, and rational that we would not have any problem giving massive authority to whoever's doing it, then that sounds great. I'd love to get to that point.
They have the authority. Like, whether you give it, like, they have it right now. It's just being given to these tech oligarchs instead of the people that we represent.
You can add LLMs like to the list of things that Congress has been ill-equipped to deal with, or even really ask smart questions about, from the internet and autonomous cars and all that stuff. I do think that there'd be a popular bipartisan thing that I think the tech companies would actually love, because they would love to regulatory capture high thresholds of what you could do for data center build out and how much bond or whatever that they would have to do. And they'd probably want to trade it for some kind of asks on either banning the idea that the government would regulate models before they came out or things like that. But you could definitely do. I know for a fact that there are, the tech companies want one national framework to regulate this kind of stuff. The question of exactly what they want in it is the larger question, and how smart we ask those things. Andrew, ask me your question about why certain people like it and certain people don't.
Justin, why is the Anglosphere so nervous about AI compared to Europe and Asia?
We're rich.
Can you elaborate? Why would that make us more nervous? We have more to lose? What is it?
Yeah, we have rich people jobs that we find to be more affected by this technology. Europe's poor. Asia, by and large, is poor. And so they are very happy. This is giving them something. This is a big value add for them in their lives, that now their phones do things that they would have not otherwise have had them be able to do. But if you look at something that shortens paragraphs, or shortens, a 3-page thing into a 1-paragraph thing and then sends it as an email, and your job is to shorten 3-page things and send them as an email, then all of a sudden you start to feel insecure and mad. And, I think add that to the idea of, there's an element of like the art side of it that like, oh, this is regulating out or pricing down the concept of art. And so therefore you have among the more charismatic and magnetic personalities in our culture that are loudly denouncing it. I think that's largely why.
That's another one where I'm willing to give some credence there. Like, I use AI creatively all the time, and I view it as a tool that kind of democratizes stuff for me. Like I've done, I did Our Election, the musical, which I spent fucking months on doing. There was a lot of labor that went into it. From my perspective, I was able to play in the we're going to make a musical realm in a way that I never otherwise could have done. That being said, I do think there's something to the idea that you're losing the creative genius when you don't know, when you're putting out music and you don't know musical theory. There might be something to that. I appreciate that that perspective with artists. I don't share it, but I think that there might be something to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a tool like anything for me. I do think that if you're going to connect with people, you have to connect with them on their terms, not yours. And so I don't want to slash anybody's opinion on that, but by and large, if you want to know, to me, what is the line, is that in general, you see this, that the people that like this stuff the most tend to be poorer, and the people that are the most frantic about it tend to be richer.
It could be, to your point, I think part of it could be insecurity, less, or I'm not arguing with you. And another element that could be something that goes on in Europe versus America, they do have much stronger labor protections than we have in the United States, particularly in Southern Europe. It's very difficult to fire people. It's extremely difficult to downsize wings of companies, whereas you can do that in the United States, right? If I were in Europe and I were working for I'm working for BMW or something like that, I would be less worried about tech displacing my job just because it would take so long to be able to get rid of the job and I'd have a buyout. So that could be part of it too.
Yeah.
I do want to circle back to the idea of like the idea that technology is going too fast and that it is scary and bad. And I don't want to hand wave it because I do think that it is an important part of our modern moment. And I do think that this technology is going very fast. The biggest reason that I would say, you know, if we want to talk about regulation, I would just say, okay, cool. I'm for the question. What's in the bill? What are we actually regulating? Because I would say that to Europe's example, Europe regulated this 4 years ago and they regulated their entire continent out of even participating in the industry. Now you cannot create a competing company in AI on the European continent. All the best researchers and engineers come to America and they work for American companies because they're able to develop this because Europe wound up passing laws that now they're unwinding because they realize that they locked this thing down harder than they probably should have just to even remain competitive in the field. So I'm for doing it. I would just want to know what is the solution. There's been a few offered statewide. What is it?
They tried to get in the big, beautiful bill, the Republicans did, an AI moratorium, regulation moratorium, where it could not be regulated by the states for 10 years. So you talk about Europe doing one thing. We were going to do the exact opposite and make it legal for them to run amok. So it's like you have these two very different regulatory schemes. But if you want to know what was in the bill, it was no regulation allowed. Literally.
Yes. No, and they've tried to push it in a few different ways, similar things. And that was because of the way that California wanted to regulate it. The way California wanted to regulate it was to create a board that was going to review every model before it was going to be released, which would either chase all of the companies that are in California out of California or would prevent Californians from accessing the models. And so that was eventually killed, but that spooked the AI companies. And so then they pushed for like, okay, well, let's never have this happen again going forward. Meanwhile, on the other side, I believe Ron DeSantis in Florida has an anti-data center bill that he is pushing. So this is not a clean a political line issue. There is a bipartisan push against this, against various elements of it. And I don't think that any of them are essentially bad. I might disagree with them, but I do think that what we have, because this technology is going so fast, and I think a few special interest groups have gotten bored and need to find something else that raises money. You've seen the hysteria and hype around it grow into just like totally outsized levels.
Yeah, and the utopia and just the pushing of this shit on us is also at outsized levels. Like both sides of this are a little much because when you look at, like, I have been complaining about a lack of regulation, and the only thing I've seen in this Congress is a prohibition on regulation. So it's like, I feel like my concerns are not being taken seriously. And so if you hear people like me start to get a little hysterical, it's probably because we're going, you're not taking us seriously. Like, even in this conversation, I feel like you guys have been okay, but it's like, I feel like these concerns are not being taken seriously. We keep being called hysterical. We're not hysterical. Like, when I say there's not enough regulation and the only thing I've seen in writing is we want no regulation whatsoever, that's not hysterics. That's knowing what the fuck I'm talking about.
What would you like to see regulated?
I want to see, okay, let's do driverless cars first. I would like to see testing required before they're on our roads. I would like to see some kind of permitting. I would like to see some kind of way for the police to be able to stop these things and move them. Like, there's just so much that they haven't worked out, and they were tested on our roads, and now they're doing big rigs next. And so that would be nice. There's been nothing on the federal level about autonomous vehicles whatsoever.
No, that has been
that's
state
going to be
regulated,
state though, right?
Yeah, it has been. It is.
Vehicle stuff's usually state.
Yeah, it is. It is state regulated. The testing happened in Arizona, especially the Waymo one.
There's nothing on the national level.
Nothing on the federal level. You're right.
Nothing.
Yeah. So you would like to see a federal codification of that.
Yes, I would like to see
Okay.
a federal codification of a lot of this stuff. And like, you know that I'm not the expert in this tech. So it's like for me to be the person to design this all on a whim, on We're Not Wrong, I'm not going to do that. So you guys can poke holes in all of it. What I will say is the complete lack of even a conversation on the national level, a complete lack of legislation beyond a 2-line thing that says you're not allowed to regulate AI. Like, this is why I'm concerned, especially where we know that we are now doing autonomous weapons. Like, I want smart people who are around this industry that understand this industry. Quite frankly, I would love Justin Robert Young to be in the room. I would love for people who want this industry to succeed, but also see the problems with it, to be having this conversation instead of trying to sell me on how great everything's going to be. Like, I feel like the conversation isn't even there. And that's the starting point. So I don't know. I don't want to get specific with a technology I don't understand.
I think I'm with Justin on this. I'm open to this. I think, generally states do regulate vehicles. So I don't know that there's a federal need for that. But at a state level, though, I think that those are very, very rational perspectives of I don't know how they tested these vehicles, but if they literally just take them out onto the roads of Austin and then, hope they don't hit anybody, sure, that's something that I think is a very reasonable regulation to request. I guess what I would just want to make sure is that if we were doing federal regulations, they were targeted and specific to a problem that we see rather than just slowing stuff down for the sake of slowing it down. But if there were a specific thing that was pitched of, here's a problem, this is something that we think will do well to address that problem, I would be open to hearing that.
Well, with autonomous drones, I want a human to be making the decision of what the targets are. I think that's pretty basic. That's a regulation we do not have.
Hey, I'm totally fine with that one, Jen. Like I'm more worried about slowing down. I'm worried about opportunity cost, right? I'm worried about all the great things that could happen. Like if the Industrial Revolution had taken 400 extra years, that would be a bad thing in my mind. But if we're talking about like military application, like yes, totally fine with that. I'll co-sign your bill.
And like, we could have foresight in the problems. I don't think we have to wait until people die, until the problems show themselves on our streets and by blowing up our buildings. And I feel like we can anticipate some of these and regulate if we're even having the conversation. And I can tell you in this Congress, they're not having this conversation. It's basically like, it sounds a lot like them trying to sell the technology as opposed to trying to anticipate what the problems are going to be and put those guardrails around it.
I will say, as somebody who is very, very, very dialed into this technology, I have not felt confident about where it's going to take the economy until like this year. And it's only because I've watched companies that are very, very, very AI exposed and how they're handling it and what it is and what it isn't in terms of a human replacement, that I even have a like fuzzy glimpse of what the future might be just by extrapolating that data, like without going into what could happen with another several leaps where things might be different. Maybe it would change my opinion. But right now, I think I have a general idea on how humans are ingesting this technology, what dumb companies are doing, what smart companies are doing, and what the companies that are dealing with it the most are seeing the most gains on. Some of the philosophical stuff, I don't know. And that's really like, Jen, honestly, beyond any trolling that I would do, like, I really don't know how to reconcile a philosophical argument of like where things could go. Like, I don't know where the now regulation of a hypothetical would be. But I do know that as far as the AI industry goes, the people that are the biggest doomers about it, the call is coming from inside the house. Like the head of Anthropic is the one that goes out on television seemingly weekly to talk about how the entire economy is going to implode and no engineer is going to have a job in 3 years, despite the fact that they are hiring engineers at a clip that, San Francisco has never seen before. They need more people as they are the most exposed to it. I don't know how to reconcile that. I have no idea. And that's even on the bleeding edge of people who know more about this tech than I do. When I go back into, the Gen Pop and I'm talking to people that like, basically know this technology as like either the shitty thing that got added on to all these web services they otherwise liked, or that it's ChatGPT or Claude, which they essentially use as a like Google replacement or an ability to shorten or summarize things. Like, I don't know. I don't really know where to have the conversation. And I do think that it's gotten into a fevered pitch when you got Molotov cocktails getting thrown at like Sam Altman's house. I've gotten emails from this show that were like dark.
And I have apologized. I've apologized for that. And I thought we moved on from it.
But about this topic, about the dark sides of AI that were like, I don't even really feel comfortable going further into it. But like, I don't know honestly what to do with it, nor do I think that I'm really the best messenger to calm anybody down.
I feel like we can start making a list of all the problems that we are seeing already. So it's like, even with the large language models, with the ChatGPTs and the Claudes that a lot of us are using, I know I am concerned with how wrong they are and how authoritative they say these things. Like, I asked what day David Scott died, and I had to fight with it. I had to basically tell it 5 times that he's dead before it would actually be like, you know what, I checked and you're right, it's dead. Like, it's not cool how inaccurate it is. It's not cool that we don't know the sources. It's not cool that it's just like one giant copyright infringement machine. So that is an area that is already annoying. I think that the general public is concerned about it, and that's something that could be regulated, whether it's copyright protections become a thing. I know that would get very messy, or just having to cite its own sources. I think that would make a great deal of difference. You can see, because I know I require the sources and I keep having to fight with ChatGPT to give them to me. But sometimes I'll see the source and be like, oh, this is just a Wingnuts blog. But at least I have that, like, I'm checking that. I don't think a lot of other people are. But as we have these conversations and we have the problems be noted, like I've given a few with the Waymos, like, as we are identifying them, if we then saw a national conversation amongst our lawmakers and some kind of action towards doing it. I know it's a piecemeal way to go, which is why I'd rather it be at least national instead of piecemeal and state by state. But like, the total absence of that is not going to make anyone more likely to listen to the upsides and be like, yeah, that sounds good, because the downsides are still so concerning, and it just feels like we're yelling into an empty room.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to fight myself from being glib.
And yet here he goes.
I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd. Patreon.com/We're Not Wrong is where you need to go if you want to get a bonus episode of this show. And this is a good one, friends, because we're talking about men's butts on the Patreon. Step aside, ladies. It's time for the men's butts to get their due. And that's because there's a brand new article that says it's the key to longevity. So I'm going to ask Jen, which of the two of us are going to live longer? You know what that means. You don't get the answer here for free. No, patreon.com/We're Not Wrong is where you need to go.
So pay us so that Justin can make me feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And you get to hear it.
Mm-hmm. And you, dear listener, reap all the benefits. All the benefits. Axios reports that veterans of Bernie Sanders' 2 presidential campaigns are now splitting between Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ro Khanna as each builds toward a possible 2028 run. The divide reflects a difference between Sanders' 2016 and 2020 coalitions. Khanna has hired more 2016-style operatives that have taken relatively more centrist stances on immigration, crime, and confrontation, while Ocasio-Cortez is aligned more with the 2020-era strategists and a more leftward approach on social issues. Their recent clash over working with Marjorie Taylor Greene exposed those tensions publicly. Though AOC is obviously the clear frontrunner, Khanna is aggressively courting Sanders alums to narrow the gap within progressivism. This is a real season that is happening right now for the 2028 race, where all these candidates are hiring people because you don't build these like little startups overnight. You got to pick the best talent very, very early. Those are the two that are in the progressive lane. And so I ask you, Jen, for no reason in particular, who is the true heir to Bernie's progressive empire?
So let me acknowledge the circular firing squad that like the left is very prone to with this conversation even happening. I will say that I like both of these people. Their voting records aligns pretty close to what I would want it to be. And if either of them were the 2028 nominee, it would be very hard for me to vote against either. So let me just put that out there. That said, if you're talking about the heir to Bernie Sanders, it is so clearly AOC, and it's just completely obvious. No, Ro Khanna and AOC, they agree on a lot of stuff. But I think the main difference between the two is basically like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is skeptical of oligarchy, and Ro Khanna kind of wants to like be friends with the good ones, you know. My concern about Ro Khanna is he smells very Obama to me, as in like Obama made a lot of progressive promises, and then when he got the power, he didn't follow through with them. And it's just like, I know a lot of us feel incredibly disappointed with Obama, with the things that he didn't bother to do. And when I look at Ro Khanna, like he was in Obama's Commerce Department. Ro Khanna is one of these people that like, when it comes to technology, he was really supportive of the CHIPS Act. And he wants things like technology hubs, which is basically tax money that would go to train tech workers. And like, there's no guarantee that we would get any kind of return on the investment. So it's like, we pay for the tech workforce and all the profits go to the stock market. He's fine with that. Where then you look at AOC on the other side, like she fought Amazon getting tax subsidies in New York. So it's just like, when it comes to tech in particular, they're in two different camps. And I also think one of the bigger problems with Ro Khanna, he talks a big game and he introduces the bills to stop members of Congress from trading on the stock market, but he does not walk the walk. I mean, this is a man, and I tried to look it up today. He's worth between $25 and $230 million. We're not exactly sure how much wealth he has, but we know he's someone who inherited it. We know that most of the trades are done by his wife, but they're married. They are one and the same in my book. And so then I looked up one of his disclosures. I found his 2024 financial disclosure. It's 333 pages. 135 of those are unearned income. So basically like stock market returns. And this man, he talks about so many of the, industries that he's concerned with that aren't regulated enough. So like private equity, private healthcare, pharmaceuticals, insurance, fossil fuels, big banks. Like he has more money invested in Goldman Sachs than I make in multiple years. And he has big money in big tech. And you can just go down 135 pages and see every fucking corporation that he rallies against. Like he has a financial stake in and he gets money from, or at least it says his grandchildren get money from. Whatever. The point is, if you're arguing from the progressive side that we have an issue with corporatism in this country, that corporations have too much power and workers don't have enough, and yet you're someone who is banking millions and millions of dollars, your money's not in the blind trust that you think that stock or members of Congress should have. You're still trading individually all the time. He had like over 4,000 trades in 1 year. Like you're doing the thing that you're saying makes Congress not function very well. He's just not walking the walk. So it's like when you look at Bernie Sanders and everything that he stood for his entire career, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is it. She is the bartender that won an upset election. She understands what it's like to have, a mom who is getting foreclosed. And so that's why she had the bartending job. I think she understands the plight of the paycheck earner in the United States because she was one. Where you can see Ro Khanna being buddy-buddy with the elite and thinking we can be in partnership with them because he's in that class. He is investor class. So I just think that where class issues are so key to Bernie Sanders and his movement, AOC is the real deal. Ro Khanna, like I said, I like the guy. I think he says the right things, but he's not. If you are a Bernie Sanders fan, AOC is the one for you.
Fraud Khanna. Heaton, which one?
I think the exact same thing minus the favorable judgments involved. But if I'm having to pick who is the heir to the Bernie throne, I'd say it's AOC. For me, this is much simpler. I have heard of AOC. That's it. I've heard of Ro Khanna, but I know so little about Ro Khanna.
Oh wait, but had you heard of Bernie Sanders before 2016?
Yes, I mean I had, right? Yeah.
You were
Bernie
on the
Sanders
Hill,
was he was a cute protest vote that Vermont did is a nice ceremonial trot, the way the Libertarians nominate somebody every few years until 2016. That's true. That being said, though, like prior to 2016, prior to working on the Hill, Bernie Sanders was at the time the only member of Congress that identified as a socialist. So he was somebody that was a noticeable ideologue, and I use that term neutrally. I don't use that pejoratively. He was a noticeable ideologue within the Democratic caucus, even though he's nominally an independent. I think that AOC very much has that mantle. AOC, in terms of the passion and inclinations that Bernie Sanders has, seems to me to be the heir to that movement. Whereas Ro Khanna, who I know less about, he might be a progressive, but I don't think he's nearly as media savvy as AOC is. Otherwise, I would know what he looks like. Like if he was in a diner with me tonight, I would just be like, oh, okay. Like I wouldn't know, right? I would definitely know.
Sweet summer
AOC.
child. You really don't know what Ro Khanna looks like?
Well, I mean,
he does the rounds on the popular.
He's a
podcast.
media whore, dude. And he had that whole Epstein stuff. It was him and Massey. They're like best friends.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I've heard of.
They're like back to back,
when I say
like
I've not heard of him.
lethal weapon poster.
I have absorbed so much more AOC media over the last 10 years than I have Ro Khanna. Now, between the two, I'd almost certainly vote for Khanna over AOC for all of the reasons that Jen just described. Just inverting that. Just to assume if you think that Bernie Sanders' economic worldview is wrong, who would you prefer? I would prefer Ro Khanna over AOC for all of those reasons, right? But in terms of inheriting the machine, yeah, I think Khanna, and I don't know a whole lot about Khanna. Jen knows better than me. Khanna's a Silicon Valley guy, is he not?
Oh, he sure is.
Yeah, that's a different brand of progressive. Like there's a particular Silicon Valley progressive who's like, hey, I'm super socially liberal, and I want there to be strong government programs, but also I definitely want to deregulate stuff going on in Silicon Valley, right? That's not Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders literally proposed a moratorium on data centers this month. Like
with
that's
AOC?
completely different. Yes.
With AOC.
She was a co-sponsor, right?
Yeah.
That's very different, right? So if AOC is willing to shut down all data centers, or excuse me, not build anymore, she's clearly more in the Bernie camp. So I think that her worldview more comports with him. I think that the energy more comports with him. The passion more comports with Bernie. So I think she's the inheritor to the Bernie machine.
I think
and Bernie took her out on all those tours. So it seems like she also has like the blessing oligarchy of the Bernie. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, I think, a larger conversation about where progressivism in specific and liberalism probably writ large is in its relationship with identity politics. Because what I think you're looking at in the split here of Bernie Sanders staffers who worked in 2016, when he was a little closer to the Bernie Sanders who existed before 2016, who said we need to close the border and open borders is a Koch brothers scheme to lower union wages.
Supply and demand is a thing in this one category. And for that reason, I do not believe we should flood the market with cheap workers from other countries.
By 2020, he had a declared illegal immigrant as his press secretary. So like that shows you the difference between kind of the two realms of thinking, is that one was very economically motivated, was like, I don't care who you are and what you believe. We need to unite workers hand in hand against the bosses. That is the only fight that matters. All other fights we can settle down the road. And the 2020 version, which had a tremendous surge of enthusiasm, was like, no. These identity fights are the civil rights fights of our time. And that's not to say that Bernie was ever a slouch in terms of civil rights. Plenty of pictures of him being an OG in that regard, but he was very much swayed by these identity issues being that new front. And he took it on in the way that he took civil rights on in the 60s. But I do think that there is a split, because some of those 2016 guys are like, no, we let the college kids get too much control and it distracted from what would be an otherwise broader base. And they lost some of those voters to Trump. They lost some of those voters to MAGA. They lost, some of the male blue collar voters now would never look at AOC. They wouldn't look at Bernie Sanders because it meant something different to them when some of the hardcore socialists are like, no, what are we doing? That's our bread and butter. Anybody who's working, at an Amazon factory, you shouldn't be losing them because we support some kind of
Latinx
woke cause. Yeah.
But to be fair, though, hasn't AOC walked that back as well? Like after the 2024 election, I saw some headline that AOC had removed the pronouns from her Twitter profile, which was heralded as the downfall of woke or whatever. But I feel like she's, my read, very self-righteous, but that most of that is directed towards economics. And it's always going to be passionate whenever she's talking about anything. But most of her energy seems to be economic to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're talking about the differences between the two, it's who's focusing on class more. And I think if you're looking at the division within the Democratic Party, I mean, that's it. It's like who's taking corporate money, who isn't, who's writing bills for corporations, who's writing them for the workers. Like that's the split. There's a lot of people in the Democratic Party that are like, we can't unilaterally disarm, so we have to take all of the donor money from all the billionaires and like kind of walk a line between the billionaires who own the company and the people that are working for it, whose paychecks are being kept as low as possible because that helps the billionaires. Like they're trying to serve both masters. I think what's different about AOC is she's going, fuck that. I want to represent the workers. Like she's putting her foot down. I think that's one group. It's a small group in the Democratic Party. I think Ro is more in the other camp. And I think that's the big division. They haven't decided if they're going to be a party for the workers yet. And we can feel that. And I think when you look at the people who went from voting for Obama to voting for Trump, or the people that voted for Bernie and then voted for Trump, it's because they were the people that wanted someone to represent those that make the paychecks in this country. And I still don't know where to look for that. So I think that's the main difference in the party. I think the identity politics stuff is so overblown. It's something that we talk about too much in the media. But when I look at the real fracture, it's financial.
I mean, I agree with you that is a big thing. But some of those 2016 staffers say, look, we lost those voters because we didn't connect with a factory worker because he believed Trump would change culture because all the girls in video games are flat-chested uggos now.
I mean, people vote for Trump for stupid reasons. One of my good friends told me that she voted for Trump because she thinks being trans is a mental illness. And I was like, well, that's a weird way to pick a commander in chief, but like that was the choice she made. So I think when we're looking at these analyses of like why people vote the way they do, it's really hard to do this, which is why I also think it's kind of a waste of time. I just think that if you're going to be talking about these two candidates, the biggest difference between them is that. And I think the more airtime wasted on the identity politics stuff, I mean, I don't think that the media helps any by shining lights on those divisions where they even exist. That's just not.
I think that it's not as important as financial stuff. I'd much rather worry about not ruining the economy than arguing about pronouns. Like I think most culture war stuff is for stupid people, to be blunt. But that being said, though, I think that you're kind of seeing a mirror image with that in the Democratic Party in the way that you used to see it with the Republican Party. Like the Reagan coalition was this combination of libertarians and the religious right. And the agreement for years and years and years was the religious right is really irritating, and they want to do a prayer breakfast, and then they want to talk about banning women from riding bicycles or something, but they vote for low taxes, so we're all going to kind of put up with it for a minute. And hopefully they don't get too loud. I think that's how it works with woke people in the Democratic Party. The kind of evangelical, you're going to get canceled if you don't use Latinx. That's the Southern Baptists of that clique that irritate the shit out of everybody, but they're coalition partners. So you've got varying levels of, I broadly agree with this, but I go to church twice a year as opposed to I'm thumping this drum. So it is a thing, but I'd say that economics is still supererogatory in terms of what we should be concerned with.
Well, and I guess what I'm trying to say with the media is like, you're totally right on that. And the people that are that extreme group that like require Latinx to be a thing, those people are getting press. Those people are getting stories written about them. And I think a lot of that has to do with it's easier to point out and less risky to do stories about that shit because it really doesn't matter, as opposed to doing financial stories that could get a big company mad at you and possibly sue your bosses and possibly get you fired, and like all of the risks that come along with challenging power like the Fourth Estate is supposed to do. It's just easier to make fun of the chick with the blue hair who's like Latinx and is like as white as I am while saying it.
I think it's easier, but I don't think it's
wait, hold on.
worried. I think, yeah.
Let me defend the media here. Also, these people work in these campaigns. Like, this is not just the media inventing stuff. These campaigns use those wedge issues to animate voters to vote for them. Like, the culture wars are not just an invented phenomenon.
They're losing. I mean, we have the biggest voting bloc in the United States is people who hate it so much they don't vote. So the idea that these geniuses in the campaign are doing something smart by highlighting these things, like, I don't think so, man. I think that the
but that's like the Bernie 2024. That's like the not the 24, the Bernie 2020 campaign. Like they were elevating these things.
You know, I don't follow campaigns the way you do. I don't have any memories of what they were doing in 2020. I just know that I don't look at these people that work on these campaigns as people that I admire and I think are doing a good job at anything. Because like you said, they're running ads, making up thruples and shit. So it's like, I think the whole system is broken and these are the people that have been running it.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that it's not an invented idea. Everybody uses these culture war issues to animate a base that they believe is going to turn.
I know they do. Yeah. I'm not arguing that. I know it's a real thing. I'm arguing that it's
I don't think it's a corporate conspiracy though. I think it's just a question of how media operates. Like I've been doing this for a while. If I'm doing an argument somewhere or I'm doing a media hit and I have to explain the difference between real growth versus proportional growth, I've lost a significant amount of the audience right out the bat. If like economics involves complex concepts, it's a complex field. Like if we're going to get into like fights about, minimum wage and regional variances and how inflation has affected the wages gone down because like that's all complicated stuff and it requires higher levels of thinking. Culture war stuff usually boils down to like, look at the other dipshit. Like everybody can understand, like everyone can understand culture war stuff, and it's emotionally evocative in a way that discussions about tariffs tends to not be. So I think that's why everybody leans into it.
Yeah, I didn't say it was a corporate conspiracy. I said it was lazy and easy. And I think that's why people do it.
I agree. I agree with that. One last thing on Khanna. So he gets no credit for the Epstein stuff or the fact that he backed the billionaire tax, the one-time billionaire tax in California, which has literally chased billionaires out of the state.
Again, I started my whole thing with being like, we are doing circular firing squad here. They're both good candidates. If you liked Bernie, both of them are so much better than anything that the Democrats have been offering for a very long time. Definitely better than Kamala. Definitely better than anything on the Republican side. So it's like he gets credit for all the shit. I'm just saying so that this
is a tiebreaker. This is like you really, really like both. It is like if you got to squint and make an argument, that's the argument that you're making.
Yes.
But I definitely should not look at Ro Khanna as like a pro-market or abundance Democrat. Like he's not in the camp that I would want to vote for, yeah?
No.
Okay.
Probably not. But he also, I will give him credit for this, when he sees something that he agrees with the other side with, like he's written bills with Tom Massey. Like he will reach across and try and find compromise. Like he's one of those politicians that we would hope that we would have. That it's like, I don't really, and it's one of the reasons why he's being like, listen, we can agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on some things and let's do that. Like he is one of those people. I would like to see more politicians like him trying to get stuff done where agreement can be had. He is one of those. So in that regard, there's I think you would like him more than some of the other Democrats who basically just say Republicans are evil and fuck all of them. He's not in that camp.
Okay, so it might be the same way. Like I wouldn't put Bernie Sanders in charge of anything longer than or anything bigger than an improv team, but I like him personally. Like I like him as a person. So it might be the same thing. I might temperamentally like Ro Khanna, but just not like his political economy or something.
I'd say that's likely.
Yeah, I think he's great on TV, and he does a lot of TV.
And he goes into other people's houses. He'll sit down with Tucker Carlson. He'll sit down with like he will talk to people on the other side and have very respectful, useful conversations. Like he's one of the better ones in this Congress. So I don't want my comments to make it sound like I wouldn't vote for him. I absolutely would.
We're Not Wrong Pod at gmail.com. That's where you write into the show. You have your email read here on the show. Please, writes, Skeleton of Slurs merch. Thank you.
What's that? Did we say that? Did I say that?
You defended Heaton by saying that he doesn't have a racist bone in his body, and I answered by saying, but me on the other side, I have a skeleton full of slurs. Which I will say, it makes the leg bones connected to the knee bone song a lot more colorful when you have a skeleton of slurs. A real meteorologist writes, a tsunami is generated by some force, usually seismic activity of some kind that moves large amounts of water in the ocean and creates an energy wave. As that wave is traveling outward, it mostly stays hidden, traveling outward under the surface. Most boats don't even register that it moved under them because the ocean floor is so deep and the energy of the wave moves under them, though boats and buoys can be helpful in tracking the wave if they are in the right places. It will feel like nothing or just a slightly larger or odd swell, nothing more than a minor rogue wave. When it becomes a problem is when that water wave meets the upslope of the continental shelf and the energy is forced upwards as it continues to propagate toward the shore. On a much smaller scale, the ideas are generally the same as a normal day at the beach where waves don't crash until a certain point, forcing water upward onto the beach. Beyond the breaking point, the waves are just swells that you can bob over. One thing I will say, though, is trying to swim out to sea is the absolute worst thing that you can do. No one is fast enough to get that far out. You will simply be brought back in and become part of the turbulent washing machine. Good conceptualization, Jen. Even boats have to consider if they have a good enough condition or time to get deep enough, which is dependent on the local bathymetry of the coastline. If you can't get out to sea, just get to as elevated a place or as far inland as you can.
Yeah, the videos that I had watched of the tsunamis were on buildings that were at least like 7 stories tall and made of concrete. And so they had the surveillance camera on the end of that building. That's how I was able to witness it. And the people that survived got to the top of that building. And you would just watch like 3-4 story buildings would just get wiped away. It was insane. But yeah, thanks for writing in. I love it when I wanted to be a meteorologist. I probably should have done that.
We got so many of those. We got a lot of people loved your tsunami talk. So
Really?
Feel free to go full autistic on weather shit. We always get good emails whenever you just like your eyes roll back and you just talk about weather cells and shit. People love it.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to be obnoxious the next 2 weeks. We have nothing but thunderstorms in the forecast. Like, I cannot wait. I'm going to stay home for 2 weeks and do nothing and look out the window.
I know the weather's going back down to like highs in the mid 70s next week, right?
Yeah.
With
all the storms.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Been a very temperate spring. On the new pandemic, the conspiracy theory gap writes, so many right-wing conspiracies have proven true, or at least probable, that the left is subconsciously throwing new ones around just to try to keep up. Wuhan, Russiagate is a deep state op, the PLC funding racism, and Bridget Macron has okay, some of them are just crazy, but the gap is real.
I don't even know which ones are left wing and right wing. Like they're all just,
yeah.
I don't know. They all because like Wuhan, who owns that one? Because I'm pretty sure it turned out to be kind of true-ish. Like, is that left wing or right wing? Like, I don't know.
That was a weird one because it's like Trump was president when he should have been saying, hey, China, give us the answers to what this virus is because it's killing everybody. And it will help us not use ventilators, which killed people, which we initially thought would save them. But then it became a blue-coded thing because then Fauci became the boogeyman and Biden was like, Fauci is now an untouchable god and he has a full pardon for anything that's happened. And it's like, well, okay, well now it becomes a blue thing that red team is mad about. So I don't know. Then again, I think the hero on the Wuhan stuff is Jon Stewart because I think he's the one that kind
Yeah.
of broke the ice on liberal polite society talking about it, because he went on Colbert and did his whole like, really, we're going to not talk about the fact that the virus came out of the virus factory town? Like,
I know, it was so great. But I am saying that's interesting you mentioned that Trump was president, because I still see people online, and I'm thinking of someone in particular, but she's a bigger name, so I won't out her. But she keeps talking about how like Biden and the lockdowns. No, but like Biden and the lockdowns and Biden and the masking and Biden. And I'm like, Trump was president in 2020. Like, what has happened? Did we forget that the lockdowns were during his presidency? And it seems like a lot of people have. Like, it's
he got into a fight with DeSantis and Kemp that they were not locking down. He was fighting with the Republican government.
Yeah. And yet, if you were to listen to some of these people that have now been red pilled, like, it's basically like the people in the universe of Joe Rogan. But if you listen to them bitch about COVID
all right,
stuff,
so it's Bridget Fetisi then. You can say Bridget Fetisi.
I didn't say that.
You didn't. I did.
Jen Briney
but it's
calling
totally
out
Bridget
Bridget
Fetisi.
Fetisi.
But like, yes, like I like her, and yet she keeps doing this shit where it's just like, have we forgotten who was president? Because that group of people blames Biden for a lot of stuff that Trump did.
How much of that merges too. Like I'll see periodically like inflation's caused by the huge bailout Biden gave everybody during COVID, and I'm like, Biden wasn't president. You can totally blame the federal government. I often did, but like it's not. The federal government wasn't the same thing as the Democrats at that time.
Well, that one,
they passed the CARES Act in March
they
of
blamed
2020.
the second. Yeah, they blamed the Biden wave of the stimulus, because the first money was good money. Now the second money was bad money when Biden came in. I think
it's kind of like everybody's interpretation of how the economy is changes the day after an election. Like it's really funny. You can see when you just look at charts of how's the economy doing. Like the Republicans and Democrats just switch. Like the second a new guy comes into office.
I saw one with Jim Jordan. Someone did a cut when they were talking about inflation during the Biden years, and then him talking about inflation now being like, it's just a fact of life. Like, who cares about inflation? Where before it was like the Biden inflation. Like he just completely switched on it.
It's God. I mean, this is when you wonder why, like, I've gotten thrown into a vat of acid and have emerged as the Joker when it comes to, like taking any politician seriously. You just have to laugh at it. Is like, you talk to people, it's like, oh yeah, like I think the economy's great when Biden was president. I think it's actually good. And I'm like, I don't know, inflation's really pissing people off. I don't know. I just don't really feel it, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they're like, have you seen the price of a tomato? And it's like, all right, like we're just gonna be totally fucking fake about all this shit.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
I will say about the lockdowns, like, I don't know where Biden gets the blame per se, although he is the figurehead, so whatever. But he was so absent that it's like the people that I blame for like lockdowns that went too long, or the idea that like there was a mentality that like, no, it's safer to leave things locked down for longer without any kind of acknowledgement of, hey, like society and businesses and people who work their entire lives to get something going. And like when the government says you're not allowed to do it, it doesn't matter how much money comes into it. Like there are other problems that are at play. Like that I blame on local blue governments. Like I blame that on like California. I blame that on like Gavin Newsom. I blame that on the city of Oakland and stuff like that. Like at least in my thing. And I think that's probably where Bridget Fetisi, because she was another one of the California Austin transplants. So I do understand.
It's funny because like her and I have the same progression. Like we were living in California during COVID, and then we both moved essentially to Austin. And having been in California for the entire lockdown period, I wasn't fucking locked down at all. I was going out every day. Like we were able to go out to parks and like sit socially distanced, and like our grocery stores were open. So this idea that people outside California have because of media personalities who were like big mad at Gavin Newsom. Like I can tell you from living there, like you could still do a lot of shit. Like we weren't all together.
I was living there and I couldn't hang out with people. That was a thing. Not being able to hang out with people was a really big impediment to life.
We did. I don't know. Like, don't you have any friends that go out in parks? Like, like we did it immediately.
I was new to LA, so I just got to be super lonely for 6 months.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wonder if things would have been different for you, Andrew, had you lived there a few years before and already had a friend group. Like, you moved there and then this happened where we already had friends. We're let's just have a safe hangout. And we did it. And the cops never gave a shit. So
all I'm saying is there was a markable difference between California and Texas during that time.
Yes, obviously. But the idea that these were draconian, because to hear people talk about it now that weren't in California in 2020, you would think that we were locked in our rooms, didn't see the sun for an entire year, and our children all went insane. And people so exaggerated what it was like in California. It was a little nuts to be there.
I think you are talking to the wrong person with Heaton. Heaton actually did spend 6 months in a bathtub drinking 2 bottles of wine at the same time.
You shouldn't have done that, man. Go to the beach. That's where the rest of us were.
Move on, shall we?
Yeah. No, Heaton's hearing the Vietnam choppers in his head. Dino DNA writes, please inform Jen that the birds she was so dismissive of on her Everglades tour were in fact the living dinosaurs. The alligators are descendants of crocodilians that lived amongst the dinosaurs, but were not the same thing. When I tell you that we got 50 of these exact same emails that wanted to point out that birds are dinosaurs and crocodiles are not, I assume that if I were to do a graph of the people that also email in about Weird Al, it would be one circle. But yes, that they emailed a lot about it. So please admit that birds are dinosaurs.
I have one response for every one of you. Shut up, nerds. Crocodiles are cooler than birds. That's what I wanted to see on my tour. I don't give a fuck about their lineage.
Not crocodiles, alligators. God damn it, Jen. All right, listen.
They look the same.
We're going to create a new Discord channel on Heaton's Heathens of Dinosaur Fight, where we can all get a set of our systems, since I assume most of you are my people.
This is not so. I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but I put a thing on my Instagram story last week. Joe and I were walking in downtown Austin and saw a thing that looked like a beaver. And I didn't know if it was a beaver. So I just put in my story, acknowledge I'm dumb, but is this a beaver? I got 6 different animals that people thought that it was. So I don't think I'm the only one that failed kindergarten in the United States. Oh, yeah.
What was it?
Beavergate continues. I don't know if you just heard my phone ding, and it was someone telling me that it's a nutria. It continues.
Yeah. Send me a picture. Send me a picture.
Okay. Beavergate
Yeah, I want to know. I'll nail it. Dude, I'll go head first into that beaver. I'll figure it out.
Dang.
Honestly, what were they doing with the rats, right? I work on electrical systems in a downtown of a major city where I frequently have to work around rat droppings, and I've never gotten hantavirus. I have literally no idea how these bird watcher imbeciles managed to get it. They must have been rolling around in it or something.
Fair. I don't know either. All right, boys. I sent you the picture of the beaver.
It made me think, because everyone's like, oh my God, they were in a dump with a bunch of rat shit. And I'm like, yeah, that made sense to me at the time. But then this guy emailed in and I'm like, there's gotta be people who work in subway systems and shit like that. They gotta be around rat shit specifically, constantly. And we don't see outbreaks of hantavirus all over the place. I will read an email about an email. I will make an email about an email, grace period. If somebody can email in and explain to me why. Is it just the region? Did we keep all the hantavirus off the coast of Argentina or wherever the hell they were?
I mean, not all rats have it. I had pet rats. They lived in my couch
not
cushion.
All rats.
But yeah, I lived with them. Rats are great. I just hope that we don't go too far and then start slaughtering all the rats. They don't deserve it.
There was a concerted attempt to just take out all the bats in America in the 20th century. In Texas in particular, there was a huge push to knock out the bat. There was massive national panic about bats. And the stats are more people, or how do I put this? Fewer people in all of American history have got rabies from a bat than die annually from food poisoning at church picnics. It's just not, it's not a thing. You don't need to worry about it. It can happen. It happens once every 3 years to somebody, it's just not an issue. But like in Texas, they were poisoning caves. Like there are certain bat populations that are now endangered because they just became enemy species, and they eat fucking mosquitoes. They're great. Bats eat mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are the biggest enemy of mankind ever in the history of the world.
Yeah, I live right by a body of water, but I also live near a bat colony, and like I do not get bit here ever.
Yeah,
it's great.
They're great. Bats are fantastic.
So, ChatGPT says it's a nutria.
I think it's a nutria.
Also called a koi poo.
See?
I don't know that one. Yeah, because a nutria is basically like a beaver that it just doesn't have a flat tail, right? Like
that was the thing. I didn't know I had to look at the tail, so the definitive answer would be if I could see
the
its
tail.
butt. So
it could be either. It could be a nutria or a beaver.
Yeah, so now I have to go. Although, to be fair, a nutria is also known as a swamp beaver. So maybe
it does look like it's in a swamp.
Yeah, but now I have to go and like tackle this beaver to check out its ass to really solve the puzzle. So that might be a spectacle coming soon.
We're saving that one for the Patreon. Jen tackles the beaver. $1 billion ballroom, which, by the way, was ruled impermissible in the reconciliation bill by the parliamentarian. Republicans say they're going to reword it and yada, yada, yada. But for what it's worth, that's the update there. Service with the Smile writes, I think the disbelief around the White House Correspondents' Dinner assassination. Oh, wait, no. Oh, no. Yeah, this was about. No, sorry, wait. I put this in the wrong place. What's in a name writes, I want the ballroom to be built by Trump without any approval so the next president can change the name from the Trump Ballroom. We all know he doesn't have the class to not make it a monument to himself. So they're saying, let him build it. And then the next Democratic president runs on the idea of changing it to the Eleanor Roosevelt Ballroom or something like that.
I mean, that's legit.
The Michelle Obama Ballroom.
That's what's going to happen. I don't even. Yeah. It's not even a joke. Like.
Yeah.
All the stuff that he's renamed after himself, like the Kennedy Center will be the Kennedy Center again. Let's calm down. Like they're just going to rename it. It'll be fine.
Yeah. I don't know. Just let him renovate shit. He loves renovating shit. It's like no one's going to put the time and effort into let him renovate it. Like.
I hate to reward his behavior of tearing down the East Wing, but like it is gone. Like, got to build something.
Yeah, what do you? Oh yeah, no.
I stand by my position of like you. I think it's weird when people criticize the president for golfing if they don't like the president. Like if you don't like the president, encourage him to golf more. Like I felt this way for 3 presidents now. Like the least damaging thing you can do is go hang out and putt, right? So if at this point, if he wants to distract himself picking out presumably gold gilt work for the ballroom instead of, I don't know, fucking up Cuba. Like, I think I'd probably be okay with him doing that.
If you had just allowed him to inspect chandeliers for the last 2 months, then we probably wouldn't be at war with Iran. You would have $1.50 cheaper gas if you just let the man decide that he wanted to have diamond encrusted outlets on the walls.
It's funny because I think it's true. If we told him we like really liked it and gave him positive reinforcement, it's all he would do for the next year.
Well, I mean, this goes into the other thing of like, you know, the Democrats they get themselves all worked up into this like, no, we have to be berserker. Everything he's for, we're against. Where it's like, he's a fucking vending machine, dude. Everything is negotiable. It's like, oh, we want to protect mephistoprone, the abortion pill. We want to have a federal law or an FDA designation that protects the abortion pill. Another $1 billion for your ballroom. He'd be like, the greatest deal we've ever made. We are now doing like, there's nothing you can't ask from this guy that he'll give you. And he doesn't give a fuck what his base thinks. He argued about being the anti-war candidate and then was like, I don't know. They talked a lot of shit in Iran. We should definitely kill all of them. It's like, it doesn't matter. He doesn't care.
Yeah. Mifepristone. Me and my friend Jeffrey gave it out like candy to all the children.
All the children, Jesus. We're Not Wrong is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg. On PX3 this week, we have Ryan Macbeth, who is our our military guy. We talk all about the war in Iran, where it is, where it isn't. And friends, if you are a Republican, he has a line that should send a chill up your spine, which is expect the status quo in Iran for anywhere between 1 to 5 years. Listen to more of what he has to say on PX.
At that point, even I will care about gas prices. All right, I'm going to tune into that.
Mr. Andrew Heaton, who stumbled into the political orphanage.
I have a really interesting conversation with Dean Spears about depopulation. So for most of my childhood, the big worry was overpopulation. That was the thing on Captain Planet we were all worried about. And it turns out that, well, I get into all of it in the episode with Dean, but fertility rates have been declining, and this has some really, really serious complications. And one of the things that I'm very curious about is what's causing this, because it's not correlated with social spending. Like there's declining birth rates in Sweden, there's declining birth rates over here. It's not correlated with a number of things that we could do. So like I talked to a guy, why are everybody having less kids? What's up with that? What could we conceivably do? And if we don't, what happens? That's on the political orphanage this week.
Jen, the congressional dish is hot. What's coming off it?
So I just finished my summary of the month of April. And so you can find out about I read the bill that reopened the Department of Homeland Security. There were a bunch of votes about the Iran war. There were votes about military sales to Israel. There was huge shakeups. We talked about some of them, but a lot of resignations and a death in Congress. There's a missing member of Congress that I tell you all about who has not voted since March 5th, which is very weird.
Frederica?
She's still running.
No, it's, let me find out what his name was.
Isn't she still running for re-election though, even though no one's seen her in a month?
She's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about
there's another one. Yeah, Tom Keene. Yeah.
Tom Keene has not voted. And I checked it the other day. Hasn't voted still since March 5th. His staff basically says there's a medical issue, but no one knows what it is. No one has seen him anywhere. He's running for re-election, but he's done no public events. Like we legit have no idea where this man is. So there you go. I guess I ruined that part of the episode. The House did some stupid shit, but I don't know. It was an interesting episode. I had more fun with it than you would think I would.
Jen, I got an idea. You're going to really like this. You're going to endorse this idea. Are you ready? So what they did with the Incas, when their king died, the thing was just maintained. Like, let's say you're an Incan king and you've got a castle and you've got 50 servants and you've got 40 acres of farmland. The king still owns it. So they would just have a king mummy. And they would have everybody pretend that he was a thing. And you would have all these different mummies that owned property that would just keep going on forever. And their chief of staff basically would become a warlord. We can just do that where like Strom fucking Thurmond can be a member of the Senate for 200 years. And it's just a question of who the chief of staff is. I think you'd really like that.
I mean, I think we're kind of there. Tom Keene could very much be a mummy and like we would not know right now. Remember Kay Granger? She was like, had severe dementia.
She was in a home. She was in a dementia home.
I know. And that was only 2 years ago. And now we have another
getting fed applesauce and she was a sitting congresswoman.
I know. And now it's happening again. Only in Congress, man.
Oh, boy. All right, folks. Well, that'll wrap it up for us. You get a bonus episode if you're on the Patreon. But if not, until next week for Andrew Heaton and Jen Briney, I'm Justin Robert Young saying, we're not wrong. AI is, and it's a point a lot of people miss.
Dog and Pony Show audio.